Welcome to this press conference on behalf of the International Monetary Fund. I'm Jerry Rice of the Communication Department, and the occasion today is the release of our update to the World Economic Outlook. I'm very pleased that we have with us today the Managing Director of the IMF, Madame Christine Lagarde. We also have with us our Economic Counselor and Director of the Research Department, Geeta Gopinath. And just to Geeta's left, we have the Deputy Director of that department, who is Gian Maria Milesi Ferretti. So I'm going to ask the Managing Director to make a few opening remarks, followed by Geeta, and then we'll come to your questions. Thank you, Managing Director.
Thank you very much, Jerry, and thank you and good afternoon to all of you. It's very nice to see many familiar faces and good friends and to be back in Davos this year. It also gives me huge pleasure, actually, to introduce to you, if you hadn't met her before or didn't know her or of her, our new Chief Economist, Geeta Gopinath. We're delighted that she has joined us, and we're all extremely pleased to work together, and I'm really honored that we are sharing the podium today for you. I'm also very grateful to Klaus Schwab and to the World Economic Forum, who are giving us a chance to present the update to our World Economic Outlook this year. And it will be my privilege to say a few remarks without giving you much by way of numbers, because that is the remit of Geeta and Gian Maria. So, how many of you do cross-country skiing here? No? Oh, thank you. Brilliant. Because I want to run the analogy of cross-country skiing for you. I'm not good at downhill, but cross-country, I'm okay. So what do you like when you're a cross-country skier? You like good visibility. No uncertainty. What else do you like? You like when it's kind of stable, and eventually when it's a little bit downhill. You know, risks down, no hazards along the way. Yeah. Third thing you really like as well when you're a cross-country skier is everybody skiing in the tracks. Okay? Now move that to the global economy for a second. Last October, assume we had started cross-country skiing in October, we downgraded our growth forecast a little bit. Risks were on the rise. We had bad news on the trade front, if not actually materializing, at least for some it was, but certainly threats. Well, I'm afraid that we are going to announce a further downward revision of our forecast. So the cross-country skiing is going to be more laborious. More efforts will be required. And the bottom line is that after 2 years of solid expansion, the world economy is growing more slowly than expected, and risks are rising. But even as the economy continues to move ahead, as I said, it is facing significantly higher risks, some of them actually related to policy. And these risks are increasingly intertwined. Think of how higher tariffs and rising uncertainty over future trade policy fed into lower asset prices and higher market volatility. This in turn contributed to tightening financing conditions, including for advanced economies, which is a major risk factor in a world of high debt burden. Now, does that mean that a global recession is around the corner? No. But the risk of a sharper decline in global growth has certainly increased. Add to this the uncertainty, the geopolitical worries, and disappointing long-term growth prospect, and you have an economic picture with a pretty clear message. And the message is the following for policymakers. Address remaining vulnerabilities and be ready if a serious slowdown were to materialize. Now, what does that mean? For most countries, it means harnessing the existing growth momentum, because yes, there is growth, in order to create more policy room to act. And the goal is to make sure that economies are more resilient, they are more inclusive, and they move towards more collaboration. So let me distinguish each of these three. More resilient. In terms of policies, it means reducing high government debt, because that would open space that is needed to fight future downward. But this must be done in a fair and growth-friendly fashion. Monetary policy should be data-dependent, and exchange rates should be allowed to act as shock absorbers. Developing macroprudential tools will further financial sector stability and reduce potential vulnerabilities. This also remains the time for economic reforms in order to lift growth, especially in labour markets and infrastructure investments. That's what I mean by resilient. Inclusive. If we are to deliver on the promise of the digital revolution that will be much talked about, in terms of productivity, in terms of employment, and in terms of long-term growth, then we must make sure that it delivers for all people. And that includes helping workers that are displaced as a result of transformations and automation. It means creating new and better opportunities for women, and in particular for young people. This is the theme that I will address in various forums in the next few days. Resilient, inclusive. My third point is collaboration. Effective international cooperation comes down to fairness, to flexibility, and to a commitment for the common good. And that's where solidarity also means self-interest. I will develop that theme in the next few days as well. So what we need to do, all policymakers, all skiers following the tracks, we need to redouble our effort to resolve the shared problems that we are facing. From fixing the global trade system, yes, the G20 has called for that, and it needs to be delivered upon, to fighting corruption and tax evasion, to addressing the existential threat of climate change. What's in it for the IMF? Well, the IMF needs to be in a strong position in order to help all countries, because history suggests that somewhere over the horizon there will be unexpected developments. The international community must come together to build a brighter future for all. I've called this a new multilateralism. And again, we will be developing that topic in the next few months as it applies to macroeconomic policies in all its dimensions and structural reforms as they need to be applied in many corners of the world. Those were my messages. I'm going to disappear and leave the floor to our most eminent economists, starting with our chief economist, Gita. The floor is yours.